Welcome. My name is Ron Schmidt, and I'm the creator of the Net Zero Now YouTube channel. And this channel is dedicated to providing you with information to understand why I believe it is so important that we get greenhouse gas emissions to net zero now. And by now I mean as fast as humanly possible. I've done a number of videos already that talked about some elements of this. This is going to be the first video I'm going to do in the science section. And this was originally intended to be an overview video of how Earth's climate systems operate. But the video just got too long, and so I decided to break it down into a number of individual segments or sessions. This is going to be the first one, and it's called "We Are Not the Center of the Universe." I got that title from the lyrics of one of my favorite Eagles songs. And I'm going to talk about how Earth is just a minuscule part at best of the universe that God created. And that we need to really then understand the laws that God used to create that universe and how this universe operates if we're going to be able to live on this planet and thrive as a human race. And so, I mean, so often we think we're in control and we ignore that universal perspective. And so I wanted to do this session, I'm not going to be providing you probably with any new information here, but just sort of to get us to reset our mindset or the way we look at things. To look at things from a universe perspective first as opposed to a Earth perspective first. And so with that, I want to start with an image of the universe. We have now come to discover that the universe has somewhere between 200 billion and 2 trillion galaxies. Now, we live in the Milky Way galaxy, so that would mean we're one of maybe 2 trillion galaxies? I mean, that's just incomprehensibly small. And then that most of these galaxies are between 3,000 to 300,000 light years in diameter. Again, a number we just can't relate to, okay? So maybe this would help. I just read recently that we're proud of ourselves as humans. We've now measured the longest lightning bolt ever on record. And the lightning bolt occurred in 2017. It went from eastern Texas to Kansas City, covered about 515 miles in about 7 seconds. That is just a small fraction of a minute, okay? And we're talking about galaxies that are 3,000 to 300,000 light years apart. If we cover 515 miles in 7 seconds, you can just imagine how far apart they are, okay? So enough with that. So let's go to the next slide here. The next slide, I took a photograph that we have of the Milky Way. And you can see that the Milky Way is sort of shaped like a disk. It has a big bulge in the center. And it's warped. And it's warped because of the gravitational pull of other galaxies. Okay. And then inside the Milky Way, the Hubble telescope has taken a picture of some of the stars within the Milky Way galaxy. The sun would be one of those stars. There are between 100 to 400 billion stars within just the Milky Way galaxy. And Earth revolves around one of those. Earth is about 25,000 light years from the supermassive black hole at the center of of our galaxy, and about 25,000 light years from the outer edge. Okay, so it gives you a sense. We're still homing in on Earth. So now here we're a little bit further out, and you can see what Earth looks like, and you see a lot of blue and some white clouds and some land cover. It's interesting. The blue, which is water, you quickly see that, gee, it looks like it's all connected. Well, we have the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it. It's sort of connected to the Atlantic Ocean, and it's all connected here. And we sort of have one massive amount of water on Earth. And the same thing's true of cloud cover. We don't have a cloud system for America and a cloud system for China and a cloud system for Russia. We have a cloud system that deals with the whole planet. So if we're going to deal with issues, we need to come at it from a planet perspective, okay? And then let's go to the next slide. And I'll talk about this slide in another presentation later when we get into the atmospheric circulation. But I thought it was just helpful in terms of it's got some fun facts here. The Earth is spinning at 67,000 miles an hour. Well, I should say it's orbiting, rather, around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. It's spinning on its axis at 1,000 miles an hour, and it's in the Milky Way galaxy, which is moving at 1.3 million miles per hour. Now, if you go outside at night or during the day and just look up and things like that, you say, well, wait a minute here. Everything seems to be stable. I don't see any movement. And that's why we tend to think that, well, okay, everything revolves around us. But you can clearly see there is movement there. We just don't feel it. Now, let's go to the next thing. And in here, I thought I would just go through and talk about, just show, some of the scientific laws that God used to create the universe, okay, and how we've gone through as humans and discovered some of those. And over here on this chart here, you can see some of the major discoveries we've made in the history of man. And then you can see over here, here's a periodic table of elements, and we believe the same table of elements apply to all of the galaxies and planets, etc., within the universe. And then here's how molecular structures exist. We showed the molecular structure here for greenhouse gases because that's sort of the focus of what we have, and you can see what the molecular structure looks like. And then the other thing we know is that this molecular structures, because of the structure, they sort of interact with other things. And so, for example, when radiant heat is sent from Earth into the atmosphere, it interacts with these particular molecules, and they in turn help redirect heat back to Earth, okay? Now, the other thing we notice is most of these periodic elements up here, and we look at what you could call matter, they're composed of molecules, but it looks like they're static too, right? And then we discovered there were molecules, and then the molecules were made up of atoms and neutrons and electrons. And then we discovered that, there were nuclei, and then there were protons and neutrons, and then there were quarks and ups and downs, and all of these. And we discovered that even what looked like static matter, like steel or rock or other things, are really quite dynamic. There's a lot going on there, and so we live in a very, very dynamic universe, which is really just not apparent to us. I mean, I go out and stand on the cement sidewalk and look at it. It doesn't look like it's sort of have all this activity going on. The sun looks like it's there, I don't sense that we're moving as a planet, or etc. So I think we just need to keep that all in mind. And that sort of gets me to the point I was trying to make here at the beginning, is that we are not the center of the universe. And there are laws of physics and other kinds of things that govern the way our universe, Earth, planet Earth, operates. And we need to understand those. We need to respect those. And we, as simple human beings, can probably do nothing to change the way they work. So we need to pay attention to it and recognize that we are not the center of the universe. And as we delve into the next section of this, we're going to talk about Earth's climate system and how it's constructed of 5 spheres. The atmosphere, which is air; hydrosphere, water; cryosphere, ice; lithosphere, which is the surface below the Earth and Earth crust; and then the biosphere, which is living things. And so we'll talk about that and how they interact with each other in future sessions here within this overview. So thank you, and we look forward to hearing you or having you join us for one of the next sessions. Thanks.